demonizes his opponent.
So let's bring in our political panel. Mercedes Schlapp, former media spokesperson for President George W. Bush, and David Mercer, former deputy finance director for the DNC. Thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure, Heather.
So, David, is there a saying, or there is a saying, it's do as I say, not as I do. Is this a case of the opposite? Do as I do, not necessarily as I say, where administration members, be them low level or high, don't need to be told directly to do these things, but they take their cues by actions they see taken, an unspoken directive or culture of intimidation?
Well, I don't think that many would put stock in what the Senate Minority Leader just mentioned with regard to this culture of intimidation. In fact, there's no proof of it. And in fact, he needs to pay attention to the facts that were borne out in the investigation or the hearing on Friday, which was that one, by the IG or the Inspector General, there was found to be no evidence of political motivation in the targeting. And secondly, it wasn't the White House that was informed about this, and it was made perfectly clear that that was the case, and President Obama has stated that. But Congressman Darrell Issa was informed when the audit was taking place last year. So I think we want to stick to the facts, and I think once we do that, we'll see that this issue gets handled, that there are some corrections made to those who behaved inappropriately, but we're not going to see it rise to the level that maybe Senator
Mercedes jump in here,
McConnell wants to.
Okay, sure. Mercedes, Marco Rubio, he took this a step further. He cited examples as well, including a National Labor Relations Board decision against Boeing. That's when they decided to relocate from Washington State to South Carolina. Also, he mentioned IRS audits of some of Mitt Romney's donors as evidence of a broader problem. He even compared these tactics to those of a third world country. So do you believe that there, is this process of intimidation and maybe a broader problem here?
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the president, he is setting this tone. It's a negative tone where, in essence, he's characterizing these party groups as being extremist. You have Vice President Joe Biden coming out calling them terrorists. There is a tone being set by this administration, which, in essence, you wonder where these IRS agents got this script. More and more groups are coming forward, and when you start looking at the pro-life groups, conservative groups, etc., the agents were asking questions such as, have you criticized President Obama? Are you going to be picketing in front of Planned Parenthood? These questions that really cross the line in terms of what IRS should be doing.
All right. So, David, I want to go back to you. I want to ask you about Sarah Ingram, the IRS commissioner who once oversaw the division that processes these tax-exempt applications during this time period, now tapped to oversee the new tax laws in Obamacare. Should she be pulled from that role? David. I
do not think so. And with regard to Obamacare, the purview of the IRS is only with insurance. And that is, if you don't have insurance, then you pay a fine. If you don't have insurance and don't pay the fine, then you should expect to answer to the IRS regarding that. And beyond that, no, you need not have a fear of that.
So, Mercedes, respond to that. Should the American people be concerned that this same IRS that targeted certain groups will now have power to come after every American to ensure that you're either buying health insurance or you're paying them a tax?
Look, she's been put in a power of position here. We know that we're going to see the largest increase of tax regulations in which IRS is going to be basically policing what's going on with paying taxes for the mandates, as well as for ensuring that they're able to get that the businesses pay the penalties. So she is going to talk about having a promotion and having more political clout. I mean, there are so many questions that need to be answered by Ms. Ingram on this issue.
So a lot of questions left. Yeah, Mercedes, I'm sorry. We have to wrap you both up, but thank you for joining us. A lot of questions, 3 scandals. The answer from the White House seems to be the president didn't know to all 3 of them. Thank you.
It's irrelevant.
Thanks.
President Obama planning to